We are in peril. We are in a dangerous situation in the United States of America politically at this moment. A crisis the likes of which we really haven't experienced in modern times. We have Russia, malign foreign influence, paying pro-Trump influencers, people who do my job but on the other side, paying them $100,000 per shitty video to forward Russian propaganda straight from the Kremlin. And we have a media in the corporate media space that is treating Donald Trump as though he's a normal, sane, rational, decent politician, creating moral equivalence and leveling the playing field artificially for him, comparing him to Kamala. It's very dangerous. We are facing down another moment where Donald Trump is going to use the courts, and when that fails, force to get himself into the White House, whether or not he's elected through democratic means. These are just the facts on the ground. This is what we face right now. And yesterday, Donald Trump was at the Economic Club of New York and demonstrated yet again that he is incapable of leading this nation. He proved once again that the media is here for him. I've got some headlines that I want to show you. But first, I'm going to play this clip. You may have seen some of it, but I'm going to play the full clip with the full question and the full answer that he gave about childcare. The media has long been asking, we want substance. We want to report on policy. We want to know what the answers are and what is proposed by the two candidates. And they hold Kamala Harris to a completely separate standard than the absolute brain-melted fucking idiot, Donald Trump. Watch this. You can scrub through. There'll be the time on it. But this is important. You need to share this video, and if not videos like this. You need to share this type of reporting. I'm going to talk about a New Republic article from Parker Malloy, and that needs to be read. That needs to be shared widely so people understand not only what the stakes are, but the mistakes also that are being made. And I don't believe it's mistakes. Maybe that's a misnomer, because a mistake is something you like accidentally do. You stub your toe. Oh, shit, that's a mistake. They are complicit in this. They are making decisions that lead them to the path and lead us to the path of ruin. Watch this answer from Donald Trump yesterday at the Economic Club of New York.
And the final question, Resma, is to you.
Thank you. President Trump, you talked about how the increase in the price of food, gas, and rent is hurting families. But the real cost that's breaking families' backs and preventing women from participating in the workforce is childcare. Childcare is now more expensive than rent for working families and is costing the economy more than $122 billion a year, making it one of the most urgent economic issues that is facing our country. In fact, the cost of childcare is outpacing the cost of inflation, with the majority of American families of young children spending more than 20% of their income on childcare. One thing that Democrats and Republicans have in common is that both parties talk a lot about what they're going to do to address the childcare crisis, but neither party has delivered meaningful change. If you win in November, can you commit to prioritizing legislation to make childcare affordable? And if so, what specific piece of legislation will you advance?
Well, I would do that, and we're sitting down. You know, I was we had Senator Marco Rubio, and my daughter Ivanka was so impactful on that issue. It's a very important issue. But I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, that, because look, childcare is childcare. There's something, you have to have it. In this country, you have to have it. But when you talk about those numbers compared to the kind of numbers that I'm talking about by taxing foreign nations at levels that they're not used to, but they'll get used to it very quickly. And it's not going to stop them from doing business with us, but they'll have a very substantial tax when they send product into our country. Those numbers are so much bigger than any numbers that we're talking about, including childcare, that it's going to take care. We're going to have, I look forward to having no deficits within a fairly short period of time, coupled with the reductions that I told you about on waste and fraud and all of the other things that are going on in our country. Because I have to stay with childcare. I want to stay with childcare, but those numbers are small relative to the kind of economic numbers that I'm talking about, including growth, but growth also headed up by what the plan is that I just told you about. We're going to be taking in trillions of dollars, and as much as child care is talked about as being expensive, it's relatively speaking not very expensive compared to the kind of numbers we'll be taking in. We're going to make this into an incredible country that can afford to take care of its people, and then we'll worry about the rest of the world. Let's help other people. But we're going to take care of our country first. This is about America first. It's about make America great again. We have to do it because right now we're a failing nation. So we'll take care of it. Thank you. Very good question. Thank you.
Now, before I get to the Associated Press, the Washington Post, and Politico, just a cursory search on Google found me these headlines. I'm going to show you what you would expect, how Donald Trump is being sane-washed by the media, except this is from the normal source, Fox News. Watch Martha McCallum really trying to put paint on a pig's ass here.
A different Donald Trump, when he's speaking to this Economic Club of New York, it's not a rally. It was very policy-oriented, and I think that this version will do well if we see it on Tuesday night, if we see this version of the former president in terms of explaining to people. Some of these ideas are difficult to break down and say, here's why this would matter for you. You know, it's easy to say, oh, I'm going to get $25,000 off if I buy a house, right? But it's more nuanced to understand the impact of these things on your bottom line. So it's going to be interesting to see if he's able to do that.
How do free market policies create jobs is what he said. And he gave an impassioned defense of free market policies. I was impressed.
It was very interesting to watch today.
Very policy oriented. I hope we see this version of Donald Trump who really broke down complex concepts and made them palatable and understandable for your average viewer. Are you kidding me? Now look, we would expect this kind of absolute insanity from Fox News, but not necessarily from the Associated Press, who wrote this headline about this moment. Trump suggests tariffs can solve rising childcare costs in a major economic speech. Is that what he did? Or did he ramble? Is that what he did, Associated Press? Or did he say, but I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, that because, look, childcare is childcare. What? Couldn't you know there's something you have to have it in this country? You have to have it. Making it make sense for the viewer. There's more, I'll quote, but let's read this one from the Washington Post. Trump discusses plan to pay for childcare. Did he? Did he discuss the plan? Was there a fucking plan, Washington Post? No, he rambled. But when you talk about those numbers compared to the kind of numbers that I'm talking about by taxing foreign nations at levels they're not used to, but they'll get used to it very quickly, and it's not going to stop them from doing business with us, but they'll have very substantial tax when they send product into our country. We're talking about childcare. The specific question was, if you win in November, can you commit to prioritizing legislation to make childcare affordable? And if so, what specific piece of legislation will you advance? And the Washington Post, or we'll just go to Politico. They tweeted this. Trump laid out a sweeping economic vision of lower taxes, higher tariffs, and a light touch regulation in a speech to top Wall Street executives today, along with this image. Trump's Wall Street pitch, punishing tariffs, low taxes, explosive growth. It's just not accurate. It's not a reflection of the reality that the rest of us are living in. So what's the motive here? I'm going to read from this New Republic article written by Parker Malloy, and it is fantastic. But it gives a couple other instances of this from the past, just the recent past, that we should all be watching out for. Here's the headline. How the media sanitizes Trump's insanity, the political press's efforts to rationalize Trump's incoherent statements are eroding our shared reality and threatening informed democracy. And this is from the article. And then I'm going to read her summation of exactly how disgusting the media is being and dangerous for your welfare, for your children's welfare, for your grandchildren's welfare. This is an existential threat, and they are missing the moment. For instance, last week, Trump posted the following to his True Social account. Now, I'm not going to read the entire True Social account. I'll just give you a flavor for it. I have reached an agreement with the radical left Democrats for a debate with comrade Kamala Harris. It will be broadcast live on ABC Fake News by by far the nastiest and most unfair newscaster in the business, blah, 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 blah. You get it. You get it. CNN described that rambling, insult-laden, conspiracy-riddled wall of text, itself a pretty good example of what he spends his time off the campaign trail doing, by writing, this is what CNN wrote about that particular post, former President Donald Trump on Tuesday announced he's reached an agreement to participate in a September 10th debate with Vice President Kamala Harris, noting that the rules will be the same as the last CNN debate, which seemed to work out well for everyone. Does that really capture what Trump posted? Days earlier, Trump heralded the endorsement of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a man who has long pushed baseless claims that vaccines cause autism, by saying that, quote, a panel of top experts working with Bobby would investigate what is causing the decades-long increase in chronic health problems and childhood diseases, including autoimmune disorders, autism, obesity, infertility, and more. In its write-up of that portion of Trump's speech, the New York Times omitted Trump's mention of autism, simply writing that Mr. Trump said that if elected to a second term, a panel of experts working with Bobby, quote unquote, would investigate obesity rates and other chronic health issues in the United States. By removing the mention of autism, which would be a red flag whenever paired with a mention of Kennedy, the Times took an obvious nod to a conspiracy theory and turned it into a normal-sounding policy proposal. I'll give you one more example and then her summation here. While speaking at an event put on by the extremist group Moms for Liberty, Trump spread a baseless conspiracy theory that your kids go to school and come home a few days later with an operation, referring to a transition-related surgeries for trans people. In their write-up for the event, a glowing piece about how Trump charmed this group of conservative moms, the Times didn't even mention the moment where he blathered on and on about a crazy conspiracy theory that has and will never happen. This is her summation. Now look, media analysis like this, from people like this, who are in the business, are important. It's not just me raving and ranting angrily on YouTube. I hope that this settles it for some people. I hope this sways some people. I do hope to a large degree I'm changing hearts and minds. That's why I do this. But maybe when it's in print, it's more relatable or more respectable or whatever, not as bombastic. And this is important. What Parker Malloy is saying here. This sane washing of Trump's statements isn't just poor journalism. It's a form of misinformation that poses a threat to democracy. By continually reframing Trump's incoherent and often dangerous rhetoric as conventional political discourse, major news outlets are failing in their duty to inform the public and are instead providing cover for increasingly erratic behavior from a former and potentially future president. The consequences of this journalistic malpractice extend far beyond misleading headlines. By laundering Trump's words in this fashion, the media is actively participating in the erosion of our shared reality. When major news outlets consistently present a polished version of Trump's statements, they create an alternate narrative that exists alongside the unfiltered truth available on social media and in unedited footage. Where's the lie? Where's the inaccuracy there? Everything said was correct. The media missing the moment. And it imperils all of us. It imperils our very democracy when they try to paint someone who is stupid at the very least, and the most generous interpretation of this is that he's stupid. And the most imperiled that we become, if we look at it really accurately, is that he's dangerous. His stupidity and the buy-in from MAGA world create an absolute dangerous situation. And the media, why won't the media just quote him? Just quote him. You don't have to, what he meant to say was, you don't have to reinterpret his statement. Just quote the fucking idiot. That's all you have to do. Here's the answer. I print because I need reading glasses. I printed it at 22 font. I had to go way down to keep it on one page. All of this rambling nonsense that means nothing. And the media, oh, well, what he meant to say was explosive growth. What? We are being failed by the media. This is why what I do and others who do it differently than I do are important. The job we do is important. Because in the absence of a constitutionally protected free press doing their jobs, and instead supplanting what they're supposed to do with a failure, bad news. Anyway, crumpling my papers all over the place. What do you think? You can comment below. You can also leave me a voicemail, 714-576-4054. As always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. And as always, I would ask that you consider supporting this independent media. If I'm not your person, find someone who is and throw them a couple bucks a month. It is important. But if it is me, click the join button below. See what's involved to become a channel member. For $1.99, you can help me produce this content. You can also go over to my Patreon page, patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. Tell me how you feel about this on the social media. I am at Dollemore everywhere. I'd love to see you there. Be genuine. Take care of one another.